And hello again. This time we're not here for some diaries. This time we're here for my little side event. Welcome to Battle City. This time, our official launch. And with me to explain some of this, because he's better at talking than me, hi, Prez. Welcome back.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Oh, you know I love having you around. You're one of the people who understands my insanity on some level. So, last season we did a draft review after the draft for Battle City, but I realized we never actually went through explaining the rules, and then I never did a follow-up video. And we don't talk about it, much like Bruno, but it's okay. So, what we're doing is the official Battle City. Last season was essentially an open beta. We reworked a couple things in between, and we're ready to actually launch it. This is getting recorded on the 1st. I don't think the actual event's going to start for like a month, but with how I'm recording and keeping stuff in the back burner, you'll probably see this in a week or two. But I did want to get it out of the way. So, I guess beginning with the basic rules of this. This is what I like to call an ante draft, meaning you're starting with a smaller roster and you're betting Pokemon on each match. So, for this season, we're doing up to 16 trainers. They will be split into 4 divisions of 4. Each team must compete every week, otherwise there are fines, penalties, and removal. You know, pretty normal. And yeah, failure to compete gets you in trouble. The first 3 weeks are divisional rounds in which you can only challenge people in your division, and you must play everyone in your division. I know that was a lot of fun last season of people. Honestly, I think liking that more than the free-for-all. Prez, how did you do last season in divisionals? I don't remember. It's been a
I
while.
made it out of my division, but that's about it. Then I lost to a rare hunter. But another thing to cover. So we mentioned a draft pool. Well, what does that draft pool look like? Well, we are going to be having the Kanto Pokemon region. So the
Like,
base 151 Pokemon.
and it
Plus, what else?
Well, see, it's not even the entire base 151. So, for the sake of this, Mew and Mewtwo are both banned, and we're only using fully evolved Pokemon. Except the birds are not involved this season. Instead, we've decided, by we I mean I have decided, that the legendary birds will be replaced with the legendary beast as our stand-in for the Egyptian gods. Because I love Suicune. This
Yeah.
this decision mostly comes off the back of last season. Everyone wouldn't stop complaining about how bad Articuno was, and Moltres to a smaller degree, but definitely Articuno.
They did the best they could.
Articuno didn't do anything. Nobody wants it. At least with Suicune, it's doing something.
It's true. I think that makes Raikou the weaker link, but Raikou's still strong.
I, in my opinion, I think all of the dogs have a niche much more than the birds.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just because of Articuno.
Look, it's still not as bad as the KFC, the Pokemon.
It's okay. That's why we have heavy duty boots.
Yeah, but in the famous words of a Brit who I love, if you need an item on a Pokemon for it to be good, is that Pokemon actually any good? Cue the Tony Stark meme of, if you're nobody without it, maybe you don't deserve it. Any MCU fans out there still? Or is that a breed that's extinct?
We'll see in the comments.
Oh, maybe. So, but as said, it's only going to be the fully evolved Pokemon for Generation 1. As we go through the generations, that will increase somewhat, so we will actually add in some more players as we go. Let's see. Other big rules: when it does come to doing your matchups, you are allowed one refusal per week. So let's say somebody who you really don't want to face really wants one of your Pokemon, you can be like, no. But then the next person who challenges you, you have to accept it. You know, pretty, I think that's fairly balanced. So each of you, once the battle has been agreed upon by both parties, each of you will put up one of your Pokemon as ante. You can communicate with your opponent and discuss that however you want if you're playing, but honestly, it's sometimes funny to just pick something randomly. But I know me and one of my opponents last season each made a gentleman's agreement to what we were anteing.
Also, it could be like the coaxing to get your opponent to fight you, because since we have that refusal, maybe you don't want to fight this person, but hey, if they're putting on like a Dragonite on the line, and you're like, maybe I can do this. It'll be hard, but maybe I can survive this. If you agree them to put on that Dragonite, um, you might get yourself a Dragonite from that ante.
That is always an option. And then once you get past the first 3 week of your divisional games, we hit week 4, in which case you are able to challenge anyone else in the pool other than a finalist. And to become a finalist, it's once you've acquired a full team of 6 Pokemon. Let's see, after that, so also week 4 is when we introduce the rare hunter mechanic. If there's an odd number of players, we'll get to that, and the number of refusals you get increases because in theory there should be more players. It's not written on here, but there's also, if we get to the point where there's only like 3 or 4 players left, refusals go out the window and you no longer are limited to 1 each week. Big rule: you must match the number of Pokemon your opponent has. So if your opponent only has 1 Pokemon and you have 4, you can only make that a 1v1. And the big one, if a refusal would cause a no repeat violation, it will be vetoed. That is mostly for the divisional weeks, but it is technically usable later. Now, big rule that was a hot topic last season, and I decided to not deal with it. If a Pokemon is selected as the ante, you have to bring it to the game. If you do not, you will automatically lose that week, and in addition, your opponent can take whatever Pokemon they want for violating it. So if Prez has a Venusaur and I want that Venusaur and he antes that Venusaur, but then Venusaur doesn't come, well, he automatically loses and I can take whatever I want, even if it's not Venusaur. That, I know, caused some stuff. This is a side event on the server in which we play, so it is going to be primarily the normal battle rules for that, which, Prez, you mod. What are the rules for regular PGM real quick?
So some of the most important rules comes down to clauses and items. For our clauses, we have the evasion accuracy clause, so you can't raise your evasion lower or raise the evasion of you or your opponent, or lower their accuracy. There's also a few move bans. This includes perish trapping from abilities. Then for item bans, there's no duplicate items, so you can't have 2 heavy-duty boots on your team, which makes things a little bit easier since you have less Pokemon to work with in the beginning. And some other ones, that's what I can think of off the top of my head. Is there any ones that you know off the top of your head?
Not particularly, especially because I do also toy with some of the rules, but... So, as we earlier said, only Gen 1 Pokemon are available during this, so it's a little bit weaker level, but honestly, I think limiting the amount of generations makes it more fun. Personal take, but I stand by it. Now, once you're a finalist, you do not have to battle again. That rule is worded that way because as a finalist, you can technically challenge somebody if you don't like your team. So let's say somebody anteed a Pokemon you really don't want and you're already a finalist. Well, you could in theory ante that Pokemon out to someone else and throw the game to get rid of it. You'll lose your spot as a finalist and have to re-earn, but is a potential mechanic that nobody took advantage of last season. I'm hoping at some point somebody does, but there's some extra additions here. If choosing to battle more, you can lose a Pokemon, but you cannot gain past 6, and during the finals, you actually pick the Pokemon your opponent will ante. A new rule that's different from last season is you will only ever have 6 Pokemon at max. So during the finals, if your opponent, whatever you pick off your opponent's team, you need to drop something for in order to claim it at the end. Or you can just refuse the Pokemon you won. That is allowed. Now, the really big change from last season. I enjoyed the Rare Hunter mechanic, but I feel like tracking it every week was a little tedious, especially because life happens to people. And it wasn't necessarily that strong because you could challenge somebody, but if they had more Pokemon than you, you're still at a disadvantage. So we decided to make it a lot more powerful, but also more limited. So it's a little bit of a side tweak. So it can only start during week 4 and after, and it can only happen during weeks where there's an odd number of players. All our old rules still apply, meaning the Rare Hunter can challenge anyone they want and cannot be refused or rejected. And they can battle someone who's already battled for the week. That's why it affects on odd numbers, because there will be one person who doesn't have an opponent who then becomes the Rare Hunter and can jump people. When jumping people, they pick their target and the Pokemon they want from their target, and it's their entire team versus that one Pokemon. So if the Rare Hunter has 2 Pokemon and their opponent has 4, it's going to be a 2v1. And that's just kind of how that goes. Rare Hunters, though, cannot affect finalists, and they cannot be challenged by other players. Prez, your opinions on this? Because I know you were pretty quiet in the group chat when we discussed this.
I see nothing wrong with the Rare Hunters. Everything that we have, it works. I mean, I was on the receiving end of getting messed over by a Rare Hunter. So, I the main thing is as long as you know how to play Mons, you're chilling against the Rare Hunters.
I mean, we'll see.
I guess the final thing about the rules is so we're in the 9th generation. It gave us this thing called terrestrialization. So our Terra types, we are restricted to stellar. So no defensive typing. So you have to use the base Pokemon, but you can use that stellar boost. One of the fun things about Gen 1 Pokemon, not all of them have Terra Blast, so you do pick wisely.
For example, I got really messed up last season because Starmie doesn't get Terra Blast, so I had to figure out a Jolteon versus Starmie matchup without arguably your best move in that. But this also it makes dealing with defenses a lot easier, and it makes this format a lot more about all-out attacking, which were inspired by Yu-Gi-Oh! There wasn't too much defenses in Battle City. People were just attacking with big, stupid monsters. Looking at you, Kaiba.
And then we got Pendulum Summoning.
Hey, do not diss Pendulum Summoning. I have played Pendulum decks. I love them.
I can go on a rant about those.
We'll save that for another video.
Absolutely.
You know what? We'll save that for when Nando does one of these with us, because he did say he's willing to commentate. And he has opinions on modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Anywho, though. So, finalist rules. Just a little bit of clarifications. You become a finalist once you have 6 Pokemon. The actual finals tournament is a single bracket elimination where your seed placement is dependent on your order of completion, meaning the first player to become a finalist is the first seed, the last player is the 8th seed. And as it says here, you can use Pokemon 1 and in the finals for future games. So any Pokemon you win during that bracket, as long as you drop something on your current team for it, is completely fair game. Alrighty. Then we got during the finals, each player picks their opponent's ante, as said above. Once a finalist battles. Yes, once a finalist, your battles are optional until the finals. So if you get bored, you can just essentially willingly lose a Pokemon just to continue going. I don't think anybody will use that, but it is technically allowed. And you can be knocked out and then re-earn your way back into the finals using that battle clause. Just a little something to give people. Down here, as I said, bans, Mew and Mewtwo. I didn't feel like dealing with the reason the, Gen 1 metagame is so stupid. Hate Mewtwo. I love Mewtwo, but I hate Mewtwo. That thing does not need Blizzard. Why does it get Blizzard? Why? Why is Gen 1 the way it is? Why did they make Gen 1 this way? And then the prizes. I don't know if you guys have talked as much about the budget increases, but from what I've been told, there's going to be a budget system for PGM starting soon, so I was told to make the prizes budgets. And then also, the first place winner of Battle City gets to pick their draft spot the next season. So if you win the season 1 and go on to season 2, that means you are fully eligible to just pick wherever you want to draft in order. We use snake draft, so if you want to be the first one to guarantee whatever you want, you can do that. You want to be the last one to get double picks, go right ahead. Whatever floats your goat.
Yeah.
I know we already...
That's the summary of Battle City.
I was going to say, we showed off the draft board a little bit. It's not too complex, just Kanto. Roster tabs. I know Nando went a little crazy on this one because he got the arts for Dark Magician, Slifer, Blue Eyes, Obelisk, Lava Golem, Raw, Red Eyes, Jinzo. Just fun stuff. Brackets pretty basic too. So this will get filled in as we go through the season and we get our finalists in. And yeah, that is pretty much Battle City. I don't know when exactly I'm going to be uploading this. It could be as early as tomorrow. It could be a few weeks from now. Genuinely no idea, but hopefully I will have Prez and Nando and other friends along throughout the season to come and be stupid with me. But
we just hope to see you all in the arena if you're part of the server.
I mean, hey, yeah, I do tend to link the server in the description. I don't know how long those links actually last, but I will try to put those links into the description if you want to join. I can't guarantee spots, but I mean, honestly, if Battle City gets popular, I might try to run some during the draft, if possible, just for people who aren't in draft. Probably without the rewards, though. Who knows? There's something. Honestly, it's a really fun place to go. I'm a founding member, but that's definitely not biased. But until next time, thank you for joining us for this walk through the woods. Arrivederci.